Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider and a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from the advice subreddit from ThenAd2196. And a quick note before we do get into this, the SD in the post means sugar daddy, not stepdad or anything like that. It's sugar daddy. It says, my SD died and his wife won't leave me alone. Bloody hell. Okay, so I don't really know how to work this app, so bear with me. I-19 female had a 75 male sugar daddy. He passed in April and he did not tell me he had a wife. Context, we met a year ago and he has paid me a little more than $700 a week. We did not have any sort of sexual contact, and I'd say in all we probably saw each other in person about a handful of times. In our beginning stages of talking, he told me he had no kids and his wife passed away when she was 30 in a drunk driving accident. A bold-faced lie. Okay, so my sugar daddy told me he was in the hospital because he was having heart palpitations, and after that he went ghost. At first, I didn't think anything of it, but then a week went past and he was not responding to any of my calls or texts. Then I get a text from a number saying that this is 75 male wife. She was calling me slurs, more slurs, bitches, and literally every insult in the book. I told her I didn't know he was married still, and he told me she had passed away, and she then proceeded to call me a liar. I blocked her after that. 2 days later, there was a dead mouse left in my mailbox. I didn't liken this to my situation with my sugar daddy's wife. Then a day later, I got a text from a random number saying, I hope you get the message, home wrecking bitch. And then she basically said I was the rat in their life, and I'm the reason why they were struggling with money, assuming she got my address from sugar daddy's messages. I blocked the number and she will not stop calling me from other fake numbers and sending me threatening messages. I filed a police report, and they basically said they can't do anything because she lives in another state and there is no proof that it's actually her. What do I do? Edit. Thank you for the very few people who actually gave advice. To all of you other people, I have a job, but I also have 2 toddler siblings that I have to provide for, so yes, I was happily taking his money. Also, me and him were what I thought to be close, and I actually really did enjoy his company and our talks. I wasn't just in it for his money. We did have a bond a bit. Also, I'm going to start documenting as much as I can. I did just get a new phone and none of her previous threatening messages saved because I didn't back my old phone up sadly. But I do have the many calls I've been receiving from her, so hopefully that helps. The first commenter says to OB, would it be that hard to say what SD means at least once? I started off thinking stepdad, but sugar daddy makes a lot more sense. All you can really do is block each new number and hope that she gets bored if the police aren't interested. I'm really having a hard time feeling too sympathetic. You played stupid games, taken a lot of money from an old man, and now you've won stupid prizes. Be glad that she isn't going to the police claiming that you're a scammer taking advantage of an elderly man. Opie says the person in the most wrong here was my sugar daddy. He lied. He sent me money. He cheated. Inner reply saying, oh my god, Reddit men piss me off. He was literally giving you money out of his own free will and lying to you. Opie just replied saying thanks. April Onward says she doesn't owe him anything. He's a grown man who made his own decisions and he should be held accountable for that. Did she force him to send money? No. This double standard is insane. A commenter replied who was downvoted and says, so if a scam artist from another country takes your money, is it the same thing? Opie says, I never scammed him. I was 100% truthful, but the only liar in the situation was him. Another commenter says, if she lives in another state, who delivered the mouse? Did she actually mail it? Because that would be a crime. I would try to go after her if so. Opie replied saying, I live on the border of a state she lives in, so it's probably a 30-minute drive, and the mouse wasn't in a box. It was just in my mailbox. I think drove and put it there. Commenter says, I don't feel bad. You were kind of taking advantage of an old person's finances. If I were her, I'd be irate too. It's like the other commenters said. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I would just lay low and not respond to anything. Chances are she will move on. On the other hand, maybe try digging deep down and feeling some sympathy for a situation. If you really didn't know about her/his real life, then surely you must feel some guilt for the fact that her lifelong husband is dead and she's finding out about a 19-year-old sugar baby after the fact while grieving. Grief in general comes with anger. I can't imagine how this is adding to it. Just don't engage and she'll move on. And get a job. Opie says I do feel empathy for her, but going to the length of putting a dead mouse in my mailbox is nuts. I have a job, by the way, and I hope she will move on. Unglin Boris says, yeah, this feels very much like I'm going to need both sides of the story. How the fuck are you going to get that, pal? What the hell? Opie says, what I'm saying 100% the truth, I'm not sugarcoating anything, but I would actually like to have a real talk with her and understand what their relationship was like for him to have to lie about her death like that. Bunglin Boris says, how did you meet this sugar daddy fella? Opie says, on a dating site. Bunglin says, dating? You swipe right on a 75-year-old man. You say you don't sugarcoat things, but your posts are giving me diabetes. Opie says, I wrote in my bio I was looking for a sugar daddy, so yes, I swiped right on a 75-year-old man. Admirable says, what was he paying $700 a week to sugar baby for if there was no sexual contact? Also document everything, get security cameras if you can, look into a restraining order. Opie says he knew my situation, I have to pay for my siblings' daycare, clothes, food, and basically everything. We talked a lot, I think he was just lonely. I don't know though because he had a wife. Key Possible says, I'm so scared my daughter will do shit like that for old men. I don't think I could handle that. Is there a reason why you chose to be a sugar baby? Opie, downvoted, says, I need money to pay for my siblings' life because their father doesn't want to be a father. Heavy Fuel says, listen, clearly she's going through the stages of grief. My grandpa had someone after his wife died. He would send money and all. Nothing sexual. He found money because his wife died, but I was angry. I was mad. The messages of his granddaughter made me upset, but he was just lonely. I wanted to scream and cry to her, but she didn't understand. Understand, yes. Was it cheating that he did? Yes. But clearly, he was at a point he just didn't care. Let his wife say what she wants to say, but leaving dead animals is insane. But I can understand her side. I don't know what else to say, but maybe don't get money from old-ass men. Opie says, maybe don't marry a liar. Stock replies saying, says the person that dated the liar. Opie says, I don't know, dated and married are on two different sides of the field, bud. I'm not going to lie, at one point in this story, I absolutely lost it when OP said he went ghost, and it's one hell of a way to describe someone who literally died, right? It's a bit dark from me, I know, but bloody hell. As for the story itself, and this could be a hot take, I don't know. I think Reddit was just like way too eager to try and make OP the villain in this story. She didn't scam him, she didn't blackmail him, or even though he was bloody married. By her account, she was upfront about wanting a sugar daddy, while he lied about being widowed, having no children, and his entire personal life. So, if anyone destroyed that marriage, it was him who made those choices, not the 19-year-old who believed what he told her and is just trying to pay her way through life and seems to be really struggling. And don't get me wrong, the wife has every right to be furious at her husband after finding out after his death. It must have been absolutely devastating. But once you start turning into harassment, calling from fake numbers and leaving dead mice in someone's mailbox, that's crazy. But anyway, OP comes in with an update and says, hello guys, I just want to thank everyone that gave me lots of advice and well wishes. You're all much appreciated. So I bought cameras, tried talking to the police again, they did nothing, changed my number, and I looked into lawyering up. I also did a lot of digging through my 75 male sugar daddy's Facebook. Also, I'm sorry for causing so much confusion for not saying it before Reddit said I was likely to get flagged. We can call him Ronald for the sake of this. I did not see anyone on his page that looked like they could be his wife, but I did find his niece, and I will call her Anna. I know this may sound dumb, but I did text her and basically explaining to her my situation with Ronald's wife and me and Ronald's relationship, hoping that she could shed some light to my situation. And oh boy, she did. I'm not going to be sharing everything that she told me, so this post isn't traced back to any of us involved. Ronald and his wife, I will call her Ashley, have been divorced for 8 years. Ashley is mentally unstable and was stalking and harassing Ronald while they were divorced, causing him to have restraining orders on her and calling the cops on her so many times. They did in fact have a child together, but their child died when they were in their 30s in a car crash, and Ashley was the one driving. Anna's family highly assumed that Ashley was high on meth because she was addicted to everything under the sun, and that's why she crashed in the first place. Ashley has been a drug addict for a very, very long time, and she was extremely mentally and physically abusive towards Ronald. She would also drain their accounts on insane amounts of heroin, coke, meth, crack, you name it. When Ronald went to the hospital, somehow Ashley found out that he was there. And we think that's when she took his phone, because Anna said that when she got to the hospital, a nurse asked her, will Ronald's wife be coming back? Since I changed my phone number, I haven't heard word from her, and I haven't seen any strange activity at my home, thank God. I do feel really bad for being so mad at Ronald for lying to me, but now I know the truth, and I can understand why he did lie about some things from his past. I miss talking to him a lot, and Anna told me that Ronald told her mum a couple of months before his death that he'd been talking to a lady that made him happy. So I'm just glad he got some joy out of the short time we had together, so I do miss him dearly. I'm going to answer some questions and crazy statements I've seen in the comments. Yes, I have a job. What led me to look for a sugar daddy in the first place is that my dad and his wife chose to completely not provide for my 2 toddler siblings. I have to pay for clothes on their backs and for the food in their stomachs. I also pay well over $1,000 in daycare fees just so I can have the peace of mind that they are being fed while I'm at work. No, Ronald and I really did not have any sexual contact, and he never asked for any sexual favors from me. As crazy as it sounds, I think we really did have a connection, and that he was just lonely. We talked so much and called every night. Also, he was willing to give me so much money because he was very well off and sympathized with my situation. By the way, I never asked him for that much money. He would just send it. Again, thank you for the advice and heartfelt messages. As for the rest of you, I hope you have a day that you deserve. But now, I'm going to turn this one straight to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Rotterkins from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and says, am I the arsehole here for telling my mum I won't be the good kid for free anymore? First off, this is one of my first posts, so please forgive me for any mistakes. So, some context. My mother has 2 children, me 24 female and my younger sister 15 female. Her dad and my dad were never together, but when she got pregnant with my sister all those years ago, she married my stepfather out of wedlock. My stepfather is much, much older and was pretty wealthy at the time. When my mother decided to marry my stepdad, she packed me up and moved us 4 hours away from my grandparents, my primary caregivers since I was born, and my dad. I won't get too far into what my life was like after I moved in, but it is worth mentioning I suffer from diagnosed CPTSD and severe anxiety from my years of living with them. My sister never had a chance. From the start, she's been spoiled. Not just spoiled, spoiled rotten. As the years went on, I tried to tell my mother and stepdad that she would not just grow out of it like they said she would. I've had friends compare her to Veruca from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. She screams, throws things, hits people, threatens to lie to CPS, calls our mother a slur, fat cow, a depressed loser, and calls her father an old man. For heaven's sake, she called her 95-year-old grandmother an old bitch and stomped on our grandmother's foot. She is out of control. What is done about this? Well, their idea of discipline is nothing. Her dad is considerably older and doesn't want to make her hate him for the short amount of time he has left with her. So he leaves the discipline to our mother, who is mentally very unstable and crumbles easily. Because my sister is so outwardly difficult, I've always been revered as the good child. To be clear, me being the good child included my silence and compliance. Had to be responsible and mature for my age because my stepdad and mother were not. Because of this, and some guilt, my mother and stepfather have always overly relied on me. I'm the one who placates, who mediates, who tried to parent their kid but was constantly undermined. It caused me to have several severe relationship issues as an adult. After high school, I moved out and went to college. I attended therapy and started to learn that my people-pleasing from living with them was crippling me. So I've slowly started stopping. The last key component to the context is that my mum and stepdad do not support me. Even when I lived with them in high school, every dime for lunch money or new clothes came from my grandparents. Even my car was given to me by my grandparents at 18. They paid 1 semester of my junior college, roughly $2,500, and to their credit, they did pay for my braces when I was 10. However, this pales when compared to the $10K a semester they spend on her private school tuition, her $1,000 monthly allowance they put on a debit card, her new Porsche car, which she can't even drive yet, plus so much more. My mother even asked me to give up my birthday last year to attend my sister's cheer nationals in Florida, which I did to be a good sister, but there was no such thing for me when I was in high school. For the record, I understand most of this money is my wealthy stepdad. I'm not delusional to the fact that I'm not his kid and therefore shouldn't expect support from him. However, they expect me to support them. Now I'm at a head. I've always relented and gone to my mother's house on Christmas Eve to wake up and open gifts Christmas morning because it's important to her. But I don't believe I'm there because she wants me to be, but mostly so I can mediate. My sister always makes a spectacle of Christmas Eve. Last year, our mother put $4,000 worth of gifts under the tree for her and me both, and my sister was not happy with a single gift that she asked for. I'm talking screaming, throwing gifts in the trash, biting, scratching, all at 14 years old. Christmas Day has always ended in screaming and tears. I hate Christmas because of this. This year I wanted to spend it with my grandparents and see my dad over the holiday. This was not taken well. I get told by my grandmother that I'm the only one keeping my mum sane. It was implied a good kid would want to spend time with her family and sister on Christmas. And I told her that my younger sister has gotten so much more than me. Money, opportunities, support, etc. And she gets to be horrible to our mother and get rewarded for it. Why should I be a good kid if I'm not getting anything in return? Why should I spend a holiday with family that makes it horrible over my grandparents who are actually supporting me? My grandma said that this was a horrible thing to say. She begged me not to say this to my mother and to just put up with it. This is not how my grandparents raised me to be or think. But it's not so much about the money as it is just the blatant usage of me. Some part of me feels greedy and spoiled for being upset over the difference in support, but somehow it just feels so wrong to keep giving in to them. What is keeping me at bay is that my grandparents have never steered me wrong, but I sometimes wonder if what was done to me gets forgotten about because my mother is mentally ill and does suffer, and my sister is like this because it's all she's ever known. I can't help but feel like I can't relent on this one though, that my boundaries are being trampled. So, am I the arsehole for wanting to say this to my mother? If yes, what else do I do? Thank you in advance for reading. That is just incredibly sad that Opie has learned that being quiet, responsible, and just available for everyone meant Opie was absorbing all this family dysfunction while her sister kept getting rewarded no matter how shitty she behaved. And there was other parts of the story that it's just, this is your kid. And just expecting to sacrifice birthdays and holidays, basically her own mental health at the same time, just to keep this family going. And at some point, setting boundaries, you're not being greedy or ungrateful. It's refusing to keep doing the job that her parents should have been doing all along. It breaks my heart for OP. 24 now, already diagnosed with CPTSD and severe anxiety because of the years living with them. I really hope Opie does take that decision to just step back from this because this isn't doing her no good at all. The commenter says, you want to be paid to go to her house for Christmas. Look, go be happy, but that is just not a good move. Essentially losing all class and character and blackmailing for your attendance. Just don't go. Not the arsehole for not wanting to go, but you would be if you paid that pay me card. Opie says, I'm not asking for monetary gain. I'm asking them to stop using me as their support, financial, emotional, etc., when they haven't shown me any since I moved in with them at 10 years old. It's always been this big deal of, well, you came out of it a better person and they can't help it and you're out of it now. But I'm still suffering from the damage they caused. My sister suffers, my grandparents suffer, they suffer, but instead of owning up to anything, they'd all rather pretend to have another happy Christmas. I'm ready to bring everything to a head, but then comes the hard truth. I can't be the golden child with nothing in return but misery. Commenter says, which grandma is this? Why doesn't she support you in being independent from your mother and trauma? You won't have them forever. Why didn't they want you to spend the time with them who love you, then with your spoiled sister? Opie says, these are my maternal grandparents, although my grandpa is not my blood grandpa and not my mum's biological dad. Her dad denounced her on his deathbed. My mother has always had this jealousy when it comes to my grandparents, my grandma in particular. When under the influence, she's told me several times, I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you needed, or I'm your mum, not her. My grandmother, I think, parents from a lot of guilt for my mum, because she's mentally ill and was an addict. We all sympathise with my mum and her situation of not being stable and stuck in a marriage we don't think she'd ever choose to be in now. However, for some reason, get the brunt of bearing the emotional load. My grandma does try to lessen it, but my mum wants me because having me around lessens her guilt, I believe. Commenter says, I get that another part of the problem is that your grandparents are asking you to do this to support your mother, their daughter, I'm guessing. It might be worth explaining that you need a break or you're going to snap and you don't want to add more drama to an already fraught situation. Frame it as a temporary break to your grandparents, just to go get some breathing space until your mother's current family unit finds a new balance. That will probably end up being never, but at least to give you time. And if they insist, suggest that they go and support your mother or you spend Christmas with your dad. If they want to load ease so much, they don't want to deal with your sister either, so that should help them understand what they're asking of you. Opie says, yes, this is a big part of the problem. My grandparents have done so much for me that they shouldn't have had to do because I'm not their child. Yet, they did. I will forever be indebted to them, and if they ask anything of me, I will agree without hesitation. So what the situation really boils down to is that if I'm not there, the drama and emotional burden falls on my grandmother. She's elderly, sickly, I just can't let that happen without some sort of plan. So Opie does come in with an update and says, I took a lot of your advice from my original post. I just felt like I should update things on here and get some advice in turn. Christmas went unexpectedly well, but not for the reasons one would think. I ended up not saying anything harsh to my mother. I stayed with my grandparents as long as I could, then made the 3-hour drive to my mother and stepdad. My stepdad's family has always been so kind and treated me like family, so I enjoyed going over there and spending time with them. My mother and stepdad left the get-together early on Christmas Eve. Come to find out, my sister had opened all of her gifts earlier that day before I got there. When she realised she didn't get everything she wanted, she took a couple of my presents and threw them in the pool. Luckily, I asked for a lot of cat toys for my cats, and those are the things she threw in, and they were fine after they dried. I spent the night with my mother and stepdad while my sister stayed with her aunt and cousins, and I opened my presents peacefully on Christmas morning before heading to see my dad. All things considered, it was a nice holiday compared to the others we've had. What comes after is unfortunately not an improvement. It seems like my sister's behaviour is on a steady decline. For some context, last year my sister messaged me with a picture of her with a fat lip saying our mum hurt her. I was so angry I called her aunt to pick her up and told her she was not allowed to go back, and if they had a problem I would call the cops. When talking to my mother, she had a severe black eye where my sister had attacked her. I didn't care who started it. I just thought it should never have had to escalate like that. She spent the summer with her aunt. CPS investigated and found no abuse in the home. Both my mum and sister went to therapy. My sister wanted to go back to her parents before school started. Now presently, my sister has learned that she can abuse our mum and get away with it. I've gotten 3 phone calls where I've seen my mum with black eyes, scratches, or marks from my sister. I've witnessed her snatch a wig off my mother's head and rip her hair out. My mother lacks confidence because her husband insults her on the daily. My sister will destroy anything that could bring her confidence. I've witnessed her pour Starbucks into my mum's makeup bag, cut her wig, etc. She's thrown glass mugs at my mother too. The last phone call I got from my mother was her with another black eye, and she said that my stepdad tried to spank my sister but she just rolled her eyes. Apparently he took her phone away too, but only for 2 hours. My stepdad does not stand up for my mother, and she has no power and no money to enforce over my sister's head. My sister says they can't do anything either, or she'll call CPS on them. When my mother called me this last time, I basically just shrugged and told her I didn't know what else to tell her. Send her to boot camp, a mission trip, turn off her phone, something. But it's all things I've said before. I've toyed with the idea of getting the law involved, but how seriously do they take child-to-parent abuse? Would I be the arsehole if I did that? Any advice is appreciated, and thanks for reading my vent post. Edit. Going no contact is almost impossible. I owe my entire life to my grandparents, and if I go no contact with my mum and stepdad, the burden falls onto my grandmother, who I'm sure my mum would hound to get to me. I'm taking steps to go low contact though. Edit 2. Just found out my sister's aunt, my stepdad's sister, was told about the abuse from my mum. My aunt would like to hold a meeting and intervention with the whole family, me and the parents included. I will not be a part of the disciplining process, but I absolutely will be giving my 2 cents on everything. Come to find out, it's my aunt paying for my sister's very expensive school, and now she's threatening to pull her from that school if she does not agree to a 6-week anger management outpatient thing. My sister is incredibly snobby and has said before she'd rather die than go to public school. She also loves her cheerleading team. I will keep updating. Commenter says, not the arsehole, but get your mum to put up hidden nanny cams in her house so the next time your half-sister hurts her, it's on camera. And when half-sister pulls the CPS bullshit again, your mum will have footage in case she does call them. She can also take the footage to the police and press charges. Maybe juvenile detention or jail will teach the spoiled brat she can't just get away with everything. Opie says, I've been telling my mum to record her, at least what she says in voice memos. But my sister gets my mum in such a tizzy she forgets to do it in the moment. I have a couple of recordings, but just of her being insanely bratty and mouthy. Nothing legally incriminating, sadly. A secret cam might do the trick if I can convince my mum to put it up. Another commenter says, it sounds like your mother is desperate for your help, maybe even a way out, if that only means a roof and 4 walls. Opie says, I've tried to help as much as I can between my means. She doesn't want the advice or solutions I give her. She doesn't want to bring up the problem to anybody or do anything drastic, which I realize is also a pattern of abuse, but there isn't anything else I can do. I called CPS before and they found no abuse. If I called the cops, they'd all pretend like everything was fine. Penguin says, this is really just a sad situation. The only way I can really see a fix to this is to have your mother and stepdad divorce and to just sever the tie of your awful stepsister, or send her to a camp, but it's very unlikely. The way you're feeling is very real. You'll burn out of trying to put out a fire on someone else's house. Unfortunate, but not your problem. Your mother's getting beaten by a child, and your stepdad wants a brat to like him before he dies. If you can't step away from the situation, at least protect yourself emotionally, and understand that really there's nothing you specifically can do to fix other people's lives. Opie says, through therapy I've begun the process of peeling away emotionally. Will always have sympathy and compassion for my family, for anyone, but I've realized there's nothing more I can do. I've come to terms with the fact that I might have to always keep this part of my family at arm's length to truly be able to breathe. These are the final steps to keeping it that way until they change something. The sad part is my mum had made changes by leaps and bounds. She's quit alcohol, quit abusing her pills, gone to psychotherapy, and gotten her bipolar under control and stuck to it, etc. She has so much more control. My sister and stepfather bring out the worst in her still, for their benefit. One more commenter says, if you're in the States, many states have elder abuse laws. It sounds like stepdad qualifies. Not sure about mum. In Florida, it's a felony. Opie says, if I got them involved, my stepdad and mum would play dumb and deny everything. They're too embarrassed to bring shame upon themselves from what they've raised, sadly. And after those comments, now I'm going to turn it to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. Hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.